Most people never survive their spiritual awakening, not because it kills them, but because it unearths something too raw, too real, too untamed for the fragile personality they spent their whole life building. When that illusion starts to crack, they retreat. They numb themselves. They crawl back into the dream, the same dream they once begged to wake from. Because truth, real truth, doesn't free you first. It breaks you. It shatters the masks you've worn so long they've become your skin. It exposes the stories you've clung to, the lies that once made you feel safe. This is the part no one ever tells you about, the part left out of every romantic version of enlightenment. It's not all light and peace. It's the screaming silence, the psychic death, the soul quake that leaves you trembling in a world that suddenly makes no sense. They say awakening is light, but that's only half the truth. The other half lives in shadow, and when you finally see through the veil, your world begins to dissolve. Not physically, existentially. Everything you gave meaning to collapses. Who you thought you were collapses. Your beliefs, your gods, your goals, all become hollow echoes in a chamber you can't live inside anymore. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." He was right, because awakening doesn't arrive as comfort. It arrives as crisis. It begins the moment the life you've built starts to feel like a lie. Not a malicious one, but a necessary one. A shell meant to protect you from truths you weren't ready to face. But now, something inside you is ready. Something ancient. Something sacred and wildly alive. And once it awakens, it will not let you sleep again. Not in the same way. The dreams you chased now feel foreign. The people you resonated with feel distant. The pleasures that once fed you now leave you empty. And in that silence, you meet the truth you've been avoiding. Pause. If you're feeling this depth, don't forget to subscribe to my channel SYC Soul. Hit the bell so you never miss what's coming next, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. That silence you're left with, it isn't peace. It's the sound of everything false dying. You begin to realize this isn't a metaphor. This is ego death, a real psychological death of identity. And the more you resist it, the more it hurts. If you fight it, it feels like madness. If you surrender, it still tears you apart. But somewhere in that tearing, you catch a glimpse of something eternal. That's why most people don't survive it, because the old self doesn't go quietly. It screams. It clings. It bargains for its life. It tells you this isn't awakening. It's depression, delusion, confusion. And maybe it is, but only because the map you were given was never meant to lead you to yourself. You were taught how to fit in, how to conform, how to look successful, but never how to be real. No one told you how to fall inward, how to listen to the quiet voice beneath the noise of the world. So when the descent begins, it feels like destruction. But in truth, it's an initiation, a sacred invitation into the deepest part of your becoming. You'll be asked to let go of every mask, every label, every identity that isn't real. You'll lose things, people, jobs, dreams, even versions of yourself you swore were permanent. But if you try to drag them into your new vibration, they'll rot in your hands. Because awakening doesn't upgrade your old life, it burns it to the ground and waits in the ashes to see what dares to rise. And this is where most people turn back. They choose comfort over truth, applause over authenticity, the known cage over the wild unknown. Because the wilderness, the inner wilderness, is terrifying. It speaks in a language the rational mind cannot translate. It shows you your shadow, not as an enemy, but as a forgotten part of you begging to come home. The part that raged, that feared, that didn't get love and learned to survive without it. And now, to awaken fully, you must invite that part to the table. You see, Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light. but by making the darkness conscious. And that's where the real awakening begins. Not in escaping the darkness, but in turning toward it. Because what if the monster you've been running from isn't trying to destroy you, but trying to return to you? What if the pain, the rage, the guilt, all of it are just exiled fragments of your soul knocking on the door, asking to be seen? Most people spend their lives rejecting those parts. They bury them under smiles, religion, positivity, or endless distractions. But you can't heal what you refuse to feel. You can't become whole while you're still at war with yourself. So when awakening comes, it drags everything buried into the light. All the things you thought you'd outgrown, forgiven, or forgotten. They resurface not to punish you, but to free you. And that's when you start to understand. Enlightenment, I send to your reward for being good. It has a consequence of being real. Your shadow doesn't vanish when you acknowledge it. It transforms. It becomes your power, your creativity, your empathy. The very traits that once terrified you become the tools through which your light shines. But this process, it's not gentle. It demands courage, radical honesty, and the willingness to be naked before your own soul. It demands that you sit in your pain without trying to fix it, label it, or escape it. Just witness it. Because the moment you stop fighting your darkness, it softens. And in that softness, you discover that the darkness was never the enemy. Ignorance was. Jung believed the self is not found through perfection, but through integration. Through holding the opposites within you. Love and fear, joy and grief, creation and destruction. And maybe that's what this whole journey is. Not about becoming pure light, but about learning to hold your darkness without shame. Pause. If you're connecting with what I'm saying, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this video from? And if this message speaks to your soul, don't forget to appreciate the work behind it. Your words keep this journey alive. When you begin to accept your shadow, something extraordinary happens. The chaos inside you starts to make sense. You no longer chase happiness or fight sadness. You observe them like waves moving through the same ocean. That ocean is you. Carl Jung taught that true individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, begins when you stop identifying with the mask and start listening to the voice beneath it. It's not a voice of certainty. It whispers. It questions. It asks you to feel instead of flee. You begin to notice that life no longer happens to you. It happens through you. Every pain, every joy, every loss starts to look like a sacred message, leading you back to your center. And for the first time, you realize you are never broken. You are only buried. In this stage, you start to rebuild, not as the old version of you, but as someone who understands the balance between darkness and light. The person you used to be dissolves quietly, and something wiser takes its place. Not perfect, not pure, but whole. That's the paradox of awakening. It breaks you open, but not to destroy you. It dismantles everything false so that something truer can emerge. You become less attached to labels, less afraid of endings, and more alive in the present moment. And it's here that compassion grows, not the soft, sentimental kind, but a fierce compassion born from having faced your own abyss. You see others differently now. Their pain mirrors yours. Their defenses, their fears. You recognize them because you've lived them. This awareness doesn't make you superior. It makes you real. You stop needing to fix people or prove anything. Instead, you embody understanding. And through that understanding, you quietly start to heal others simply by being. Every experience becomes a mirror reflecting your own consciousness back to you. Every encounter becomes a lesson. Every silence becomes sacred. This is what it means to awaken, not to escape the world, but to see it as it truly is. When the storm finally quiets, you realize the awakening was never about becoming someone new. It was about remembering who you've always been beneath the noise. the self that existed before the world told you who to be. Carl Jung believed that the final stage of transformation is not enlightenment in the way most imagine it, glowing halos or endless bliss, but a return to authenticity, a merging of light and dark, conscious and unconscious, spirit and matter. It's when you stop searching for meaning outside yourself, because you've found it within. You begin to see that every shadow, every wound, every heartbreak was an initiation, each one carving space inside you for something greater to live. You start to trust life again, not because it's predictable, but because you've seen its deeper rhythm. You know now that even chaos has intelligence. Even endings have purpose. And that's the quiet miracle. You no longer chase peace. You become peace. You move through the world aware, awake, but humble. You laugh easier. You forgive faster. You love more honestly, not because life got easier, but because you did. The pain didn't vanish. It transformed into wisdom. The fear didn't disappear. It became understanding. The old world didn't collapse. It revealed what was real beneath it all. And now, when you look back at the version of yourself who began this journey, scared, uncertain, desperate to understand, you feel gratitude. Because without that fall, without that darkness, you would never have met your light. So if you're in the middle of your awakening, if everything is crumbling and you don't know who you are anymore, remember this. You are not breaking down. You are breaking open. As Jung once said, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. This is your awakening. Not an ending, a beginning. Pause. If this message touched your soul, don't forget to subscribe to SYC Soul. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming stories, and share this video with someone who might need this reminder. Your support keeps this journey alive, and your awakening inspires another.